All right. Good evening, San Bernardino. Very, very excited for a new night of Wake Up San Bernardino. This is by request, so pretty cool that you guys have reached out. I've been asked to cover quite a few topics, so I'm trying to condense the information as much as possible, but I want to make sure that everybody that has questions is able to answer them through the Facebook Live. And then if you have any additional questions afterwards, you're more than welcome to post your comments. I will be sharing this video to YouTube, Instagram, and then a link will be provided on Nextdoor. So feel free to share it. And as comments come through, I'm happy to discuss further and answer any questions. So I want to make sure that I get on to the Facebook for anybody that is there. Hello, Paula is already on. So very excited for that. Okay, let's jump right in and we will talk about what we are going to talk about. So tonight's hot topics will cover the new interim city manager recruitment, where we're going with that. We will talk about the Burrtec rate hike. Some people have asked some questions, so we're going to update the Planning Commission decision for no crushing and grinding. We're going to look at the Oxbow, new information, and then an RFP for the demolition of the Carousel Mall, which is with new information currently challenged. So first off, interim city manager recruitment. So the city council held a special meeting this Wednesday. Now, interesting enough, when watching the video, the mayor came out and said there was no reportable action taken during this meeting. However, that wasn't true, because I've come to find out that actually the council went from roughly 25 applicants to 2 finalists, and they are going to hold interviews next week. And I can only assume that January 17th at 5 p.m. will be that time, because the city has planned another closed session hearing, and the agenda covers the interim city manager. So I don't know why no information was reported out when something did happen in closed session. I'm going to have to look more into that. That actually really concerns me, and I'm going to tell you for a couple of reasons. I've kind of gone back and looked at the closed sessions reporting. Very limited stuff is reported out, and now seeing that an action was taken, but some residents were notified while others weren't. Problematic. So stay tuned on that, because that'll be another fun look into. But who knows? I don't know who the 2 candidates are. I'm hoping we will find out. I did give a public comment, and all I asked of the council is that they provide us with an interim that can really manage the city. This is not a placeholder. This is not someone that you just sit in the city manager's office and keep the seat warm. In my opinion, we have so many moving projects. We have upcoming opportunities that we really cannot sit dormant for 2 to 4 months while we search for a permanent replacement. Again, the community and the members that I have spoken to do not feel confident in the leadership that exists inside of City Hall today. There are a handful of within a year to a couple of months old directors with 0 institutional knowledge. They are moving things forward that are questionable. There's just a void. So I really hope that things move forward rather quickly. So that's the quick and fun update on that. So here we go. You guys have reached out with a couple questions about the Burrtec rate hike. You must submit a written protest, either by mail or hand delivered. And some of you have asked, like, hey, what does it say? Now it tells you right there at the very top, 1, 2, and 3, what must be included in the following. You guys have asked, would I just post a template that gives the how to, this is what I'd like to say? Absolutely, I'm happy to do that. So this weekend, I will post a template for those of you who you can handwrite it, you can type it, you can print it out, doesn't matter, as long as it's delivered in the exact capacity that they're asking for. Now, for those of you that ask, can you email the council and the mayor? Yes, absolutely, you can email them, but that is in addition to filing the written protest. So once you submit it to the city clerk, then in addition to that, yeah, please email the mayor and council and let them know what your protest is and why, so that, you know, you're not just another, you know, paper in the pile is how I deem this is going to look. I've provided the email addresses for all of the council member and the mayor. So if you can't write them down right now, please don't hesitate to, you know, pause the video afterwards, or you can go onto the city's website. These are all available here. But yes, you must first write your protest, submit it, and then in addition, email the mayor and council. So I hope that clears up everything for everybody. Okay. Next, very, very cool news, in my opinion. I attended the regular meeting of the Planning Commission. And, oh, Anna, great. Yeah, you could screenshot the emails. Perfect. So it's being on the 10th, and the final point, and you guys saw that I had live streamed this, the final item for the Planning Commission to consider is the development code change to allow for grinding and crushing on site. Now, this has been an area of contention. It has been a problem, just the topic in general, because this all originated out of the Oxbow project. And what had happened, we'll just recap for those that are watching. I see some of you are on here, and I'll get to as soon as I finish this, I will get to your questions. In 2020, a Amazon building burned down in Redlands. After it burned down, the owner of the building, who was also a political contributor of our prior mayor, Mayor Valdivia, worked a deal with a property owner named Eric Cernich and a demolition company called Greenleaf Engineering. And these people came up with a plan to take this burned out warehouse concrete and dump it at a housing development site. And the goal was that they were going to be able to crush this rock and concrete and use it as a base for the development. And then the leftover was going to be sold. Well, our city, the city of San Bernardino, does not allow for on-site crushing and grinding. Ever in the history, there's never been a single permit that has ever existed for anybody to do that. What happens is people demo buildings, and then they haul away the concrete to a proper processing plant. Historically, it's always happened. Well, in the last year, I'd say 6 months, the city brought a development code amendment to the Planning Commission. Now, this code the change has gone back and forth and has been continued up to now 5 times. And in reviewing and watching, one issue I had in 2 meetings ago was that the city attorney for BB&K assigned to the Planning Commission and the city were calling private meetings with the commissioners to find out exactly what they needed to read in the development code change so that they would approve it, which is extremely problematic, unethical, and verging on illegal. That the city cannot persuade an independent body to basically bending to their will. So that was called out. Now, I have read the proposed change, and it was really good. Like I looked at everything that the commission was considering, and all, you know, like you can only grind as much as you need. You cannot grind anymore and remove it from the city. They were talking about HEPA filters. They were talking about, water metering. It was very in depth. But what ended up in this last conversation, Commissioner Larry Quill brought up the real ultimate, like, why are we doing this? Why are we changing our standards when we've never allowed for grinding on site? And why would we do something other cities are moving away from? That's what he said. Because as then Commissioner Lewis starts to explain, the side effects of crystalline silica dust, which is the byproduct of grinding cement on and creating this powder, is that it is extremely toxic. And down at the bottom of the screen on the left-hand side, crystalline silica is found in materials such as concrete, masonry, and rock. When these materials are made into a fine dust and suspended in the air, breathing in these fine particles can produce lung damage. Silicose can be totally disabling and may lead to death. Most concrete and masonry products contain large amounts of sand. When you inhale the dust, silica particles scar your lungs, causing and disabling irreversible and incurable lung disease called silicosis. This is bad news. Really, really bad news. And what the Planning Commission unanimously decided was, well, they could write and have been working diligently on a development code. What they could not guarantee would be the follow through, that the city would implement every aspect of the code to make sure that all grinding was safe for the community at hand. Because it has been done, grinding is done in certain areas very sporadically, but they did not feel our city had the capacity to make sure that all the T's were crossed and all the I's were dotted. And Oxbow was there, really a guide for them. Not that, you know, there was the grinding, but just the fact that someone was able to dump an entire warehouse, burned up warehouse in our city, and the public works department and the community development part were like, what? Oh, no, we thought they were bringing in dirt. So long story short, they denied it. They voted unanimously to deny the change. And so the city in this present time does not allow anyone to crush and grind on site. Now, this denial recommendation is being written up, and then it will move forward to the city council for final approval. I was very proud and very happy. And what I would very much tell everybody, because there were other things on the agenda, if you can make it to these commission meetings, do. This is where a lot of, I think, movements in the community can be spoken to first and foremost before they ever become the up and downs at the dais with the council. Like here, we get to say, like, no, we don't want this. The planning commission, as the body of recommenders who basically represent the people at this point, get to say, like, look, no. So if you can make it, it would be great. Let me see. I want to go back to some of these questions. Scott, it does sound shady. Yes, it does. Oh, that was for the closed session. So what else we got? Carmen Verdugo, can we do this to protest the Apple Valley Animal Shelter? Yeah, what I would do, what our city did with our animal shelter is we stood outside on the main artery where the animal shelter was and held a big community gathering and protest. We went to all of our council meetings, stood there and told the council we did not want our animal shelter outsourced. We wanted it fully funded. We wanted a proper director in place and taken out of the hands of PD. So it really was the power of the people that helped us correct the animal shelter. And right now, like, it still gets overloaded and things are happening, but I don't hear people upset like they were. We have a really wonderful director, in my opinion, who truly cares for animals. So I think, yeah, anytime you guys show up and do things, you can absolutely move mountains and elected officials at the same time. So, Scott, thank you. I'm glad I made it to the meeting too. It was very, very awesome. And then what do you think the council will be for? The vote will be for the council. I am hoping that in this particular moment with the development code, that our city council will support their commissioners, that they will see like, hey, they went through a very thorough analysis and got to the point where they understand this isn't feasible. While it could possibly be done, and Teddy Sanchez likes to talk about how safe all this stuff is. If he wants to go suck on the pipeline of the back of a grinding machine and eat a turkey sandwich, he's more than welcome to. But the long-term effects of what this would do to a community outweighs any potential cost. And let's be honest, this is the other thing that the commissioner said. The only person that is benefiting from grinding and crushing on site is the contractor. It's a cost savings for them. And in some cases, they are able to sell the remaining material. And what I don't want to hear, and I'm just going to give you this counter argument because I'm sure it's going to come up. Well, this will deter people from wanting to build. Let's not go there, because Teddy Sanchez the other day and I were in a meeting, and I just saw Mayor Helen Tran put this out. The city had $400 million of permit investments pooled in our city. I'm pretty sure that's the number. That they had more permits for building pulled, I think, last year than any other year before. So development is moving forward in the city, and it is not dependent upon being able to crush and grind on site, because it's never been allowed ever. So we'll get to the rest of that, but yeah, this was a great moment. Okay, Oxbow update. I'm going to try and move myself out of the way. This is something that means a lot. So as I entered into the Planning Commission meeting, I was met by Public Works Director Nathan Freeman. And he said, hi, I don't think we've properly met. And I was told that you have never received a copy of the environmental testing report related to the Oxbow. And I told him, no, I have not. I've requested and received over 1,000 pages of documents, but I have never received it. And he said, well, here, I have a copy for you. And I was elated, very, very excited. It's about a 10-page document. Here's the thing, and I'm being facetious, but go ahead and answer in the comments if you want. Where is Oxbow located in the city of San Bernardino? 2 seconds. You're thinking it's located at the top of Palm, and there's a whole index for the actual address. Yes, you're correct, absolutely. Now, if you can't read the first sentence, or you see that very big sentence right here, it says resample report for concrete samples collected from 2255 West Laguna Avenue in Redlands. This test report came from concrete in Redlands. Now, I've decided I wanted to make sure, right? I wanted to hear people say, well, wait, what? No, like the warehouse was burned out, and that's the address in Redlands. And you're correct, yeah. So I called around and I asked people, I said, hey, would you, if you were testing something, would you put the site where it was originally from, or would you put the site where it was collected? And they said, well, it would say samples, concrete samples originated from, or it would say collected from. Now, this tells me, and this is probably why I'm going to make an assertion here, why this was never given out publicly. Because what it shows is that the city never received a contamination report from the Oxbow site. The samples were collected 2.5 months after the Oxbow, or after the material was moved to San Bernardino, and when they were pouring new concrete at the warehouse. Because if you know that warehouse is back up. So here's the other thing, and I'm kind of going down my list. When after the meeting, Director Freeman came up to me and said, I had another copy if you'd like it. And I was like, sure, awesome. He told me, and I had a council person standing right next to me, he said, I want you to know something. I cannot verify the validity of this report. There's a stamp on it, and that's at the bottom, but I can't guarantee you that this is actually real. Wow. That's one, I appreciate that from him. I'm going to be honest. I really appreciated from him. What is absolutely disheartening, which I find interesting, and I'm going to mention this because the meeting before this, Louis Ojeda had stood up and told the commission that grinding should be allowed on site, and that the Oxbow needed to be cleaned up, and anybody who was trying to deter this was just about politics. It was just about political, because he read the environmental report. He had seen it, and it said that the concrete material was safe and there was nothing wrong with it. That's a problem. Look, I know we don't always like the information that comes out, but just to spew whatever. This is why what we do here is so important. This is why what Leticia and I have built over the last 3 years was so vital to the community, because we don't come, and I don't come to this community without the facts, without the public records and the documents. Now, I have said that this material was never tested. And I base that on the fact that I have never received a document from the city ever showing an environmental report. This now only solidifies that. And the city has it in their hands. Now, what does this mean for those who want the Oxbow cleaned up? The city does not allow for grinding and crushing of material on site anywhere in the city. What this means, and what I hope will happen rather quickly, is that Councilman Reynoso and his counterparts will put Oxbow back on the agenda for abatement, that they will take it back to court, receive the warrant, that they will put up the money first and put a lien on that property, which they should have done, and that Mayor Tran will not veto the cleanup, because there is no way to get on there and grind on site. We need to clean up this. And I understand that as a taxpayer, I don't want my money to have to go sit while this is being litigated. I don't like that. But you know what I really don't like? I don't like watching my fellow City of San Bernardinoites or Deans or whatever you want to be. I don't want to watch you and your children suffer from lung disease in 20 years. I don't want to watch commercials that said, did you live in the city of San Bernardino and between 2020 and 2025 and now you have mesothelioma? I don't want that. If we put a cost on the life of people, and remember when the city filed the initial abatement application, Michael Huntley, the former director of community development, said that this poses a significant risk to the life, health, and safety of all residents within 1,000 feet and the surrounding community. There's only one choice here. The only remedy is to go pick up that concrete, dig it all up, get it out of our city, and have it grind. Then go after the owner and have them pay us back. That's it. And if you look, this report expired 12/1 of 2002 or 2022, if it was even legitimate. The Oxbow project has been abandoned for over a year now, so it would have to start all over. Let's just clean it up. Let's do the right thing. Just because Valdivia was a crook and he had council people sign on, what I heard was, hey guys, I made mistakes in my last bout as a council person. Give me another chance to do the right thing. Well, hey, you guys, do the right thing now. do the right thing right now. So this is the Oxbow update. I'm going to post this on top just so everybody can see it. I wanted to just put it a part of that. So that's the Oxbow update. Next, we're going to talk about the Carousel Mall demolition. So there's a lot going, there are problems. There is a lot going on here. So as we know, over the course of last year, a lot of fires started inside the Carousel Mall. I think there was between like 15 to 20 fires. What was interesting is that we all know years prior, the mayor started receiving money and interacting with demolition companies. In fact, he tried to circumvent the council and get the new city manager at that time, Robert Field, to approve the $10 million demolition of the mall. And as the mayor's time in office started coming to an end, lo and behold, this building started burning. Could there be a correlation? I don't know. Does that seem odd to me? Absolutely. Every time the building burned, the mayor ran out. We need to demo, we need to demo, we need to demo. Well, and then so what does the community? Community starts seeing fires. Hey guys, we should probably demo this. So here we are. The city goes out to bid. And they come back and say, we have received 12 demo RFPs came back. And by the way, the lowest bid was $7.7 million, and the highest bid was $28 million. The second lowest bid was $16 million. So we're going to give it to the $7.7 million contractor. And there's not going to be any change orders. Well, for anybody that was thinking about this, that sounds really odd, right? How does someone bid so high and then the second lowest bidder is half or is twice as much as this current one? So in this discussion that happened on December 7th, the council asked some questions, and we're gonna listen to some of this because I've cut it in. So I want to make sure you guys can see everything here. Let me hang on a sec here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Oops. Oh, my bad. There we go. Okay, you should just be able to see me, and then let me pull this up for you. Okay. We're going to go back into the PowerPoint, but I want to play a couple videos for you guys, and I'm still figuring all this out. So I know I teach from Zoom, but this is a whole nother world. Okay, here we go. Okay. Now, let me full screen this. Okay, here we go. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna close all this. Okay. Oops. Okay, I'm coming back. Is this just, it's not happy with me doing all this stuff, but I want to show you this if I can. If I can't, we'll have to figure it out. Okay, so I'm going to share this screen. All right, I want you to listen to what this guy says.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. You ain't got to give all that. Just.
So, I think though, still.
Thank you. Yes.
There you go.
You ain't got to give all that.
Excavate, remove, and within the building footprint. The sewer is provided to saturating.
So that you know what's down there. So the phase 2 is for underground soil contaminated materials, and that's not part of this project. So my question is, how do you know what's down there? So how can you make a couple bid if you don't know what's down there? That's not a part of their scope. So they're only affecting what's above this. Right, I understand it. But this is just a question. If you don't do a phase 2 and you don't know what's down there, how can you make a proper bid on demolition? If you don't know what's down there, does that make sense?
I'm trying to answer the question. The answer is we get a proper bid for the materials that were tested. They're all up. The bill proposal does not include.
No. Thank you. Yes.
All right, so what we just heard, if you could hear it, if you watch the meeting, just basically a recap of the meeting, is that this bid does not include anything below ground. So what they are actually doing is just knocking down the building. There is no phase 2 environmental. So what does that mean? Well, for anybody that knows that there's something under the mall, that means that we're going to have to come back and rebid out the demolition of the underbelly of the mall. What you're going to hear, and I'm going to try in the best is to hear this for Councilwoman Calvin, is she's going to ask a very valid question.
So, I think though, still, point to be made to Councilman Stress point is why your bid is so different is because you're not doing all of the work that is listed here above ground, because they're talking about removing utilities, demolish, remove the concrete, that's paving, gutters, boundaries, all that, excavate, remove underground utilities within the building footprints, cap the sewer laterals, plan ready to provide site drainage per the requirements, with SWPPP to provide drainage towards the pit left behind from the demolition system. No material is to be left on site or imported from outside of the job site. So it seems like we have a total different plan for the other demolish companies than what we have for resource, or we changed it somehow or another. If why would they submit these details of this work and resource does not have to?
I spoke to our city engineer in each of the which hold that question on site.
Okay, if you guys just heard that, the city engineer at the time, Alex Kishta, told the demolition companies to bid in because demolition, being able to grind and crush on site was a possible option. In a city where we do not have a code to allow for crushing and grinding on site. Now, this bid does not look at any of the underground utilities, demolition, cleanup, asbestos. So what they're saying is they're going to crack the top off of this building and everything underneath it. Well, hey, that's for you guys to figure out after the fact. And then, even though your city doesn't allow for it, we have factored in that we're going to be able to have a cost savings of $8 million because we don't have to clean it up. We're going to grind it on site. That is illegal, just so you guys know. And here's the thing that bothers me. Here's the thing that really gets me about this. This guy, Daniel Hernandez, the director of public works, who I just looked at his face and I'm not impressed right now, because I don't think he likes being challenged with the truth. He went into the Public Safety Commission meeting and was giving an update. And this was brought up. This topic and what had just been discussed was brought up, and they said, Daniel, we don't understand. How do you allow for grinding on site? And he said, oh, don't worry about it. The Planning Commission is going to change the development code tomorrow, and we're going to be allowed to grind on site in this city. Isn't that something? Only to then find out that the city's community development department was pulling commissioners aside, that the city attorney was trying to rush and write out what he could so that they would approve an amendment to the development code to allow for crushing and grinding on site. If that isn't some unethical, illegal actions, I don't know what is. And I want to make sure, let's be very clear, because even after these two issues were brought up, even though we know there is no grinding on site, I wanted to make sure I took a picture so that I did my due diligence and didn't recite the wrong vote for anybody. Even after all of that, Theodore Sanchez, Sandra Ibarra, Juan Figueroa, Fred Charette, and Damon Alexander still approved the demolition of the mall. Councilwoman Kimberly Calvin was the only council member present who did not vote to approve, and Councilman Reynoso was absent. So there's the vote. We were hearing what we heard, that this is only half, which is why it costs half, only half of the entire project. And whatever environmental problems lay below the surface, that's someone else's problem. Now, what I want to know in the heart of my heart is, how is this developer connected to the mayor, this demolition firm? Who are these people? And why were they allowed? Because they said we didn't, there's another in this, they talk about, we didn't answer the RFP to go underground. Why did every other demolition firm respond to carrying concrete off-site along with the underground demolition? Why would you bid? This is the biggest question I have, and I'm sure some of you are asking it. Dave, absolutely. The city does not need to be its own Camp Lejeune. That's 100%. Here or at Oxbow. This right here makes zero sense why this company did not have to answer the question. If everybody was told you may grind on site, they would have put in bids for grinding. But why would they not touch the bottom portion of the mall, but every other person bid on that? Everybody else was required to include that pricing. They're trying to say, we tested 200 different spots inside the mall and everybody else only tested 25. And that's why we're at the very minimum an $8 million difference. No, you're at the very minimum of an $8 million difference because you didn't bid on the other half of the project. Because as he said, we did not respond to that RFP. It's bad. And I know I can get worked up, but sometimes I just think, like, how is everybody else just so calm about these things? How did the council member just sit back and be like, job well done, guys, look what we did? What? Like, why not do it right the first time? Why would we then have a developer come in working on the mall and say, hey, this isn't even a viable a plot of land anymore, you guys. You got all this stuff going on here, and you told us this was shovel ready, and this was so that's where I'm with this. My understanding is that firms have questioned it. Did you ask who reviewed the RFP for that contractor? They all submitted by the deadline, and it was the city engineer along with the public works team that reviewed their RFP, and the council that had the RFP in the backup agenda. That's where Councilwoman Calvin, you don't see it in the video, but she starts reading through the actual lists in the other proposals. And those items that they're talking about, underground utilities, asbestos control, everything below the surface is not included in the RFP for these guys for, it's crazy for resource environmental. And they said it, we did not answer the same RFP. Now, Diana, what RFP they received, which one they got separately, if they were given, which I believe, right? If you're writing in that we're going to grind on site and nobody else is factoring that in, I believe that was information that was offered secondhand. And it was not actually told to everybody else. That's my own belief. So disheartening, to say the least. And I am going to, based off my own research, I'm going to write a formal letter to the council now that basically this RFP is null and void, by the way, because you cannot grind and crush in this city. And the information clearly shows that this company was given alternative information to help them win a bid. And that is unethical. And hey, I don't know what comes from all of this, but what I do know is that Alex Kishta is no longer with the city of San Bernardino. He is no longer the city engineer. So we don't even get to answer or ask him any questions or hear what direction he may or may not have been given in this circumstance. So always something. Okay, guys, last slide of the night. So I appreciate you guys that have stayed on with me. Sorry for the bit of the technical difficulties, but we will work them out as we go. The next episode for Wake Up San Bernardino will be Monday night at 7. I want to start a little bit early because we are going to go over the city council agenda. I want to go through the items. We'll pick out, if you guys have any questions, we can pick them out and look at specific things, but I want to show you guys how to see the item and then go through the backup material. I'm sure there'll be some stuff. I heard it's a super long, like 39 plus, but we will get through it together. If there's any additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out in the comment section. I will post to YouTube and Instagram, and then I will post a link onto Nextdoor. So thank you guys for watching. It is always a pleasure to hang out with the city of San Bernardino and our lovely residents. And those of you visiting from other areas, that's kind of cool that you guys stopped in. So have a great, super rest of your night. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Scott. I'm so glad you guys can make it. Thank you, Paula and Diana. I'm going through, and David and Carmen and Sophia. I think it's the same Carmen. All right, guys, have a great night.